Hello everyone. I hope you all are doing good. Children, we completed with the first chapter of 11th, that is the living world, which was a basic and the easiest chapter that we have learned. Now let's begin with the main chapter, that is biological classification, the second chapter of biology, biological classification. Now when I say the term biological classification, in the first chapter we came across what is classification, why is classification is essential for the living organisms, right? Now meaning that recognizes what the similarities and the dissimilarities of the organisms. That is why we classify the living organisms based on certain characteristic features, right? Now when I say biological classification, it is a classification of the organisms, living organisms, be it a bacteria or a plant or an animal, right? So let's begin with the chapter biological classification by first saying about, when already we know classification has been given by many different scientists, like many scientists have contributed for different biological classifications. Now let's go into the detail about each and every scientist, what kind of contribution they have given to the classification. Okay, the very first scientist that I would like to talk about is the Aristotle. Now Aristotle is the one who classified plants into herbs, shrubs and trees. Okay. The second one the second scientist when I talk about is Theophrastus, who classified plant kingdom into trees, shrubs, undershrubs and herbs. He is also known as the father of ancient taxonomy and father of botany as well. Now when I talk about taxonomy we already learned it in the first chapter. What does it mean? It is the arrangement of the principles for classification, right? That is taxonomy. Then the third scientist that we have to learn about is the Carolus Linnaeus. Carolus Linnaeus, he is the father of taxonomy and he gave two kingdom classification. One is kingdom Plantae and one is kingdom Animalia, right? The fourth one that I talk about is A.W. Eckler. He was the first who gave the phylogenetic classification on plant kingdom. Now when I talk about the phylogenetic classification of the plant kingdom which was given by Eckler, that is about the cryptogams and the phanerogams. I hope you remember about cryptogams and phanerogams that we learned it in class 9th, right? Now cryptogamy or cryptogams, when I talk about cryptos means what? It is hidden or less developed. When I talk about phanerogams, phaneros means what? It is well developed, right? It is well developed, or you can also say it as visible. To be more specific, cryptogams are those plants whose reproductive organs are not visible, while phanerogams are those plants whose reproductive organs are visible. Now when I talk about cryptogams, they are classified into three, that is Thallophyta, Bryophyta, Pteridophyta, right? And when I talk about phanerogams, they are gymnosperms and angiosperms. We already know what is Thallophyta. Yes, Thallophyta, Bryophyta, Pteridophyta, we have already covered these basic concepts in 9th standard, right? Thallophyta, Bryophyta, Pteridophyta, with how do we distinguish between all the three? By differentiating roots, stems and leaves, right? And when I talk about gymnosperm and angiosperm, gymnosperms are the naked seeds, right? Gymnos, naked. And sperms mean seeds. When I talk about angiosperms, the seeds which are enclosed, these are angiosperms. So this was about the contribution of A.W. Eckler. The next scientist that I have to talk about is about the R.H. Whittaker. R.H. Whittaker, in 1969, he classified the living organisms based on some characteristic features and he categorized into 5 kingdom classification. So that is the reason we say it as Whittaker's 5 kingdom classification. He named it as what? Kingdom Monera, Kingdom Protista, Kingdom Fungi, Kingdom Plantae and Kingdom Animalia, right? So these are the 5 kingdom classification of Whittaker. Now when I talk about Kingdom Monera, they are all prokaryotes. Here you can take an example of Archaebacteria, Eubacteria. Then you can take an example of blue-green algae, Actinomycetes. The second one when I talk about is about the Kingdom Protista. They are unicellular. All unicellular eukaryotes are what? Belong to Kingdom Protista. Here you can take an example of dinoflagellates, diatoms, euglenoids, slime molds, protozoans. Now these names, I know this is not quite familiar to you, but these we are going to study it in detail in this chapter, right? The next one is what? The third one is kingdom fungi. These are all true fungi that belongs to kingdom fungi. The next one that I talk about, kingdom Plantae. All multicellular plants belong to kingdom Plantae. Now as we gave the eclair classification, that is Cryptogam, Phanerogam, that is Thallophyta, Bryophyta, Pteridophyta. These all come under what? Kingdom Plantae. Now when I talk about kingdom Animalia, all multicellular animals belong to kingdom Animalia, right? So all the animals, any animal you can take an example of, right? The next topic that we have to deal with in detail, now we have to go with the Whittaker's 5 kingdom classification, is about the first kingdom, that is kingdom Monera. Let's go into the detail about it. Kingdom Monera, which is the prokaryotes. Here the bacteria are the sole members of Monera. Cell wall of prokaryotes is made up of peptidoglycan. Now when I talk about peptidoglycan, it is a polymer of sugar and amino acid. Okay, it is a polymer of sugar and amino acid. Cell membrane made up of lipid and protein, which is basically known as lipoprotein. When I say lipid and protein is lipoprotein, right? Now they also lack membrane bound cell organelles. Now when I talk about cell organelles, we already know in 9th we have learned about cell organelles. What are these? These are, now for example, in a human body we have an organ, right? We have different organs which have different functions, specific function, right? In the same way, a cell in our body has different organelles, and these organelles perform many different functions. It can synthesize a molecule, it can break down a molecule, anything it can do, right? It can help in exchange of the materials in and out of the cell. So these are all a part of what the cell organelles, right? So they lack these membrane bound cell organelles, and they also lack nuclear membrane, nucleolus, true chromosomes. Instead what do they have? A false chromosome is present, made up of what? The double stranded circular naked DNA and plus the non-histone protein. Now when I talk about the nucleolus, nuclear membrane, now, and that means, now when it is saying, when kingdom Monera does not have these things, what does it mean? It does not have a well developed nucleus. Now when do we say it as a well defined nucleus or a well developed nucleus? When the nucleus consists of nucleolus, chromatin fibers. Yes or no? These are all nuclear membrane. This all comprises a complete well-defined nucleus. Now, this prokaryotes, they do not have this well-defined nucleus, and that is the reason they lack all these things of nucleus. That is nucleolus, nuclear membrane. They also don't have chromosomes, true chromosomes. True chromosomes means what? Functional ones, right? Now here, what do they have? The false chromosomes, right? Here, example we have already mentioned. You can take an example of Archaebacteria, Eubacteria, Blue Green Algae. When I talk about eubacteria, let's talk into it about detail. That is, bacteria have 4 types. Now bacteria is divided into 4 types based on the shapes. Now the first shape that you can see is coccus or cocci. Second is bacillus. Third is spirillum. And fourth is comma shape. Okay, all these are the different shapes of the bacteria. Now let's see into the first one, that is first one, cocci, or you can also say it as coccus. These are spherical in shape. They are the smallest bacteria and they are maximum resistant bacteria. Okay, this is coccus. Second one is bacillus. These are odd shaped. You can give an example of E. coli, which is also meaning the full name of an E. coli is what? Escherichia coli. Okay, the third one is what? Spirillum. They are spiral shaped. Example you can give is Treponema. Comma, that is Vibrio, right, which is comma shaped. For example you can give as Vibrio cholerae. Now bacteria are motile as well as non-motile. Now when I use the term motile and non-motile, motile means the bacteria which can move, right? Non-motile, the bacteria which cannot move. Now how can a bacteria move from one place to another? It is only dependent on whether they have a flagella, whether they have a cilia, whether they have a pili. All these structures are associated with what? The movement of the bacteria, right? So they can either be a motile or they can be a non-motile. Movement in bacteria takes place by means of flagella, right? On the basis of flagella, bacteria are of following types. First one, Atricus. Now when I say atricus, it is when flagella are absent. It is called atricus. Okay, when flagella are absent, these bacteria are known as what? Atricus. The second one I can categorize into monotricus. Now mono, the word itself says one. So when only one flagellum is present on one end. The third one is amphitricus. Now amphitricus, when I talk about it, is when single flagellum is present on both ends of bacteria. Lophotricus, the fourth one, is a bunch of flagella present on both ends of the bacteria. Okay. The fifth one is what? Cephalotricus. Now this is a bunch of flagella present on one end. And the last one, the sixth one, that is Peritricus, which is known as what? The flagella found on the whole body. This is known as Peritricus. Now depending on the flagella as well, the movement is based of the bacteria. Whether it is one flagellated, two flagellated, three flagellated, or five flagellated, or completely the whole body is flagellated or not. Depending on that, the movement is decided by the bacteria, right? So let's move into the next topic, that is structure of the flagellum. Flagellum of bacteria is made up of three parts. The first one is basal body, the second one is hook, and the third one is filament. Now when I talk about basal body, the basal, it is a basal part of flagellum and rod shaped, lies within the cell wall and the cell membrane. Now it is surrounded by two pair of rings. One is outer pair and one is inner pair. Okay. When I talk about the hook, it connects the basal body to the filament and it is the middle part of the flagellum. When I talk about filament, it is a cylindrical hollow structure. The diagrammatical view says clearly about the explanation what I have said, right? The next topic that we have to deal with is the staining of the bacteria. Now when I say staining of the bacteria, the scientist who introduced this first is H.C. Graham. He differentiated the bacteria depending on the different stains that he used. Now when I say stains, it is basically differentiating whether it is gram-positive bacteria or whether it is gram-negative bacteria, right? So let's go into the detail about it. Now in the first step of this method, bacteria are stained with crystal violet and then potassium iodide solution, the Ki solution. After staining, bacteria are washed with acetone or ethyl alcohol, and after washing, some bacteria retain the stain and some bacteria are decolorized. Okay, now bacteria which retain the stain with violet or purple, they are said to be what? Gram-positive. And the bacteria which decolorize are known as gram-negative, meaning they are counterstained by safranin, which becomes into pink colorish, that you can see. Okay, now if I have to differentiate between a gram-positive and a gram-negative bacteria, the gram-positive bacteria, they remain purple colored with gram staining. Okay, now when I say gram staining, you understand what it is. Meaning you are staining the bacteria, yes or no? Meaning with the color, with the stains, you are using different stains for that. So the bacteria remains purple, colored with gram staining even after washing with alcohol. What did I say before differentiating? If it, meaning if the bacteria retains the stain, this is known as gram-positive, either they are violet or purple, yes or no? And the bacteria which decolorizes, they can be gram-negative. They are gram-negative bacteria, yes, and then they can later on counterstain by what? Safranin. So the bacteria remain purple color with the gram staining even after washing with alcohol, and for gram-negative, the bacteria do not retain the stain when washed with alcohol. Now when I talk about gram-positive, second point, the cell wall is single layered, while gram-negative, the cell wall is bilayered, and the wall is very smooth in gram-positive, whereas in gram-negative the wall is wavy and comes in contact. A few pathogenic bacteria belong to gram-positive group, while most of the pathogenic bacteria belong to the gram-negative group. So I hope you understood the concept what is taught today of the staining of the bacteria, about the different contribution of the scientist, about kingdom Monera, and the structure of flagellum, etc. About kingdom Monera, we still have to go further with a detailed explanation about the examples of Eubacteria and Archaebacteria. So we'll do it in the next session. Study well. Thank you so much.